All right, guys, happy Friday. Welcome in. Once again, it is the Betting Edge, and I sure as shit am not the Prez. And we do hear he's looking for bail money, though, so obviously all contributions are welcomed. But the good news is we're joined by probably the smartest panel. The IQ on this panel is off the charts here, guys. We've got, of course, Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas on Twitter, Dave Cokin at Dave Cokin on Twitter, WagerTalk.com. Easiest and best way to find these guys. And Marco, long time, my friend. How you been, man?
Doing good. Been talking with our buddy Ralph. We're trying to plan another Florida Derby trip this year, Joe. Have you recovered from last trip?
I have no idea. I don't even think Mark Lawrence is talking to me anymore, so it's all right. It's not a problem. We'll figure it out, man. But it's good to see you as always. And Dave, dude, you are crushing at NHL. Another winner last night, 8-1 now. Like, what's going on here, Dave?
Well, I've had some good fortune in overtime. I mean, you're going to get overtime games in the NHL because it's a lot of close games, and if you get on the right side of those, things can be really good. So they are right now. So, I'm real happy with that. The college football has been very steady all season. Going to be a shorter card than usual this week for me in college football. I'll have my plays posted later today. Don't have anything yet for the hockey tonight. I don't know whether I'll play or not. I do have a college basketball game up, so we'll see if we can get a winner on that.
All right, and when he means up, guys, he's talking, of course, WagerTalk.com. That is where you guys got to go. Head over there, WagerTalk.com, handicappers page. You'll see Marco. Of course, you'll see Dave. Get there today. And, of course, we'll share actually a great deal right now with Marco. A 7-day pass will be just $79, guys. Get every one of his plays. We'll tell you how to do that here in just a minute, guys. But we'll kick it off in some college football. The city will be Norman. State is Oklahoma. Iowa State, Oklahoma, 14.5 points is what Oklahoma will be laying here. Marco, I'll start with you. I imagine Oklahoma's a little pissed off heading into this game. What do you think, my man?
Yeah, definitely. And, Joe, normally we talk about when these big schools get that first loss, we talk about the dream crusher effect. And I would look to actually go against these teams. But in Oklahoma's case here, although they are on the outside looking in, their season's not over. And the reason for that is because they're going to have to play Baylor yet. And if Baylor's sitting at undefeated so far, if they come into that game undefeated and beat Baylor and then maybe end up meeting Baylor again in the championship game, I think Oklahoma can catapult themselves back in to the picture. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on what happens in the Pac-12. That's the X factor. But as we know, we want to take these teams that might need those style points later. And although I was on Iowa State a lot early in the year, that defense is wearing down. They've been giving up points the last several weeks here. Going against last week, they got beat by Oklahoma State 34-27. You might say, were they looking ahead to the Oklahoma game? Possibly, after winning 3 in a row. But I think the defense is getting wore down. And when it comes to the offense, as much as I like Brock Purdy, I just don't think he can trade points if they get into that type of a game with Oklahoma. And we know how good this Oklahoma offense is. Joe, if they get out to a 2-touchdown lead, Iowa State's got to come out of their game plan and open it up a little bit. And that's when things can go awry if you start forcing the issue. And I just don't see Purdy dueling with Jalen Hurts. And I don't see Lincoln Riley taking his foot off the gas either with the lead. So I'm leaning to Oklahoma here and laying the points.
Laying the 14.5. And Dave, listen, the first list came out there, right? Bunch of people eating donuts, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, telling us that Oklahoma's number 9 in the country. Kind of no man's land. Is it too late for Oklahoma? You think they still got a shot here in this game?
No, they're very much alive. I mean, Minnesota's 13th, and they're very much alive. So anything can happen. If this were right on the heels of the loss to Kansas State, I'd probably be looking to play against Oklahoma, but it's not because they've had 2 full weeks to prepare. So, get the bad taste out of your mouth. And Marco mentioned the style points, which do come into play. I mean, look, if Oklahoma has a chance to impress the committee, they're going to try and do it. So if this is a 14-point game with 10 minutes to go, they're not going to ease up. They're going to try and keep on scoring. That's presupposing that they've got a big lead, which is not automatic. Iowa State's a solid team, extremely well coached. But I would have to agree that the situation here maybe favors Oklahoma a little bit. And with their offense, I don't think I want to go against them. It's not going to make my card. If I had to play it, I think I'd take Oklahoma.
Yeah, being an Oklahoma State alum, I hope the whole place burns down, but that's a whole different story there. All right, so we got.
Well, let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Were you disappointed nobody got hurt when the schooner tipped over?
Yeah, I was actually, yes. That's funny. I kept rewinding it, hoping there would be a different outcome, but unfortunately it wasn't. They did retire it, though. I've seen that thing enough over the years. They did say, listen, nobody got hurt. Let's put this thing on the shelf.
Well, they could drive it a little bit slower.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. It's like, come on. Like, Marco looks like it's running into third at the Derby. Like, seriously? Come on, man. What are you doing? It's like riding that thing like Seabiscuit. Damn.
You don't retire a tradition because of one minor accident.
Yeah, a minor, which nobody got crushed.
Nobody got hurt.
Dave. I'm with you, man. Love it.
It's like a plane crash. I mean, if you get in one plane crash and you survive, you may as well just keep flying because it's probably never going to happen again.
Exactly. Yeah. You step in shit. Like, what's the point? No point in changing the shoes now. Let me ask you guys now. Of course, that's Big 12 there. How about the Mountain West? We got another very interesting game. Don't know what to make of this team, guys. This Utah State team. This kid Love is supposed to be playing on Sundays, yet they can't score any damn points. Now they're taking on Fresno State, and this number's at 58.5, and you got to be looking at it going, I don't know, Fresno State 5.5-point favorite. Dave, I'll start with you. I don't know. Can Utah State score points? It doesn't seem like they can recently.
Well, they can't stop anybody. And if you can't stop anybody, the other team's got the ball all the time. I mean, Utah State's kind of a train wreck right now. The line has gone way up in this game. They posted a pretty short number, and I think considering the way things are going for Utah State, I'm not surprised the market immediately jumped on Fresno in a pretty big way. This was one of the games that got hit heavy at the outset, and there's no way to sugarcoat what's happened with Utah State. They've kind of given up. It's alarming to see how bad they've been the last 2 weeks against Air Force, and then in a rivalry home game against BYU. That was a pathetic performance last week. It's one thing when they had that game against LSU early in the year. Okay, it's LSU. They were outmanned. It was on the road. No big deal. But you can look back at that game now and the way they kind of quit in that game. And it's happened now twice in 2 weeks. So their season's gotten away from them. And to me, Utah State is unbettable at this point. You either have to go against them or just leave the game alone. On the Fresno side, they've still got plenty to play for. Very good win for them last week at Hawaii. It's not that this is a great Fresno team. This is not nearly the squad they had last year, but they're well coached, and they have a lot more to play for at this point than a Utah State team that doesn't appear to care. So when you have a situation like that, there's only one way to play, and I'd have to look at Fresno State here.
Yeah, I mean, Marco, listen, Tedford had to kind of restock there. The cupboards were bare after last year. A lot of young guys on his team, but you know what? They're playing for him, man. And I wouldn't expect anything less from this program. 5.5. Is it a short number for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not often that I disagree with Dave, but I do in this one. And I can't argue the point that they quit in that game last week. They did. 5 turnovers is what did them in. The game got out of hand quickly, and they were never really in it. And this is the same team that earlier in the season handed San Diego State on the road. San Diego State's only loss in the conference, and San Diego State's been playing very good football this year. And the reason I bring up San Diego State is because I am a situational handicapper. And for me, the situation here is to go against Fresno State. Both teams are at 4-4, so the game is still meaningful for both teams. But Fresno State's got a monster game on deck with their rival San Diego State coming up. That's the big game in the conference for them, and they're coming off that shootout last weekend on the islands in Hawaii. I just think coming back from Hawaii and with San Diego State on deck, that this is a vulnerable spot for them, and I don't want to lay the extra number here. As Dave alluded to, this line got hit and continued to go up. The market is at its high point on Fresno State and its low point on Utah State. With that said, I look at this Fresno State defense, and that's where my concern is. This team has given up 31 or more points to every team not named Sacramento State, New Mexico State, or UNLV. Those are not three good football teams at all. Those are the only teams that have not put up big numbers on them. And I think Utah State, unless, and this is a key point, if Utah State falls behind like by 10 early in the game, this might be one where you in-game live. And yeah, when things start to unravel, a team that's, looks like may have quit, that it just avalanches on them, snowballs. Yes, I could see that. But I think if 4-4, we're still going to get an effort out of them this week. And I'm just going to take the inflated number here. And yes, the biggest mystery with Love here is what's happened with the offense. It reminds me of, now he ended up being hurt, but remember all the hype with Allen at Wyoming his last year in college football? Everybody was projecting him as a top prospect in the NFL, and then he ended up having a dismal season, most of it because of injury. But that's just what reminds me of this Utah State game with Love. Let's see if he can get the job done here. They've got the tools. Let's see if they can show up on Saturday night against Fresno.
Yeah, he's got the tools definitely to play on Sunday. They'll be looking at him. He is Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas on Twitter, guys. Him and Dave, both of them, WagerTalk.com. That is where you can find them. And heads up here, guys, 7 days. Every one of the plays, 7-day full access to Marco, just $79. Just use the code MD79. That's MD79 at checkout. You can get every one of Marco's plays for $79. Never miss a play. Full week's worth of full access. Use that code MD79. All right, guys, let's transition into the NFL. And it is Week 10, of course, started last night. AFC West. We'll keep it in the AFC West as guess who's back here? The Kansas City Chiefs on the road, heading to Tennessee, taking on Ryan Tannehill, and I'm going to try to say that without laughing, taking on Ryan Tannehill. Spent a long time here in Miami watching Ryan Tannehill, and while he's the guy, they seem to score points with Ryan Tannehill, but again, it's Tennessee. Heck, you talk about Jekyll and Hyde here. Dave, I'll ask you, he's back. Is there any question mark in your head looking at it, whether or not Mahomes is 100%? Does he need to be to win this game?
I don't think he's going to be 100%. I'd be surprised if he is, but at this point in the season, you could say that about a lot of players. And Mahomes is a good enough player to get things done. But I still don't like the Chiefs in this spot. Listen, they're usually in the game, okay? They're not a team that gets blown out. I think Tannehill's been respectable for them since he took over the starting reins. He's never going to be an all-pro quarterback, but he's producing better than Mariota did. I think that's going to be a fairly close football game. Do I think the Chiefs lose the game outright? No. So it's probably not going to be a game I'm going to bet. But I would be reluctant to lay points into Tennessee at home. It is a good home field. The Titans' defense is good enough to contain Mahomes to some extent. And if he's less than 100%, they might be able to shut him down more than people expect. So my impulse is to back Tennessee here. It's not a strong opinion, but this is one where I would lean home dog.
Marco, you got a ton of question marks. Achilles heel, Kansas City defense going on the road, taking on Ryan Tannehill again. Got to say it while I'm laughing. Does it make a damn bit of difference, Marco? Is Ryan Tannehill, does he have enough firepower to exploit them?
Yeah, the difference between Tannehill and Mariota is both are mediocre quarterbacks. The only difference is Mariota knows it, Tannehill doesn't. So he has that false sense of security and confidence. And, making a joke about it, but Tennessee buys into him more than Mariota from what we've seen in the couple weeks that he's been in there. Now, with that said, in this game, this is all about the situations. You guys know I love situational plays. And I always do a segment on our show that I do with Kelly and VR on the Bet On It show where I have my sandwich game of the week. And guys, this is that sandwich game of the week. And here's why. You look at Kansas City, and we're going to actually get two angles here. First, a sandwich game is who did you just play and who do you got on deck? All right. Well, if you look at Kansas City, who did they just play? They played two of the best teams in the NFC back-to-back weeks without their star quarterback. They play Green Bay and take them right down to the wire. And if it wasn't for a miracle throw by Aaron Rodgers, which I still think he was throwing the ball away, it hit the corner of the end zone for the touchdown to get them the cover instead of kicking the field goal and us getting the cover in that game. And then last week, holding Dalvin Cook, which just blows my mind how that Kansas City defense was able to stop a running back, because they haven't had stopped many running backs all year. But if you told Kansas City you're going to be without Mahomes for 2 weeks and you're going to go 1-1 against that lineup, you would be happy as hell, and they are. Now they go on the road to play a Tennessee team coming off a beating that they're going to be in a foul mood, and Kansas City has on deck the LA Chargers. Now, granted, that was a big loss last night for the Chargers because gave a little bit of a cushion to Kansas City. But I'm sure in Kansas City's eyes, the only team that they concerned themselves with this year in this division was the Chargers. And next week they could, deliver the death sentence if they get a win with them next week. I like Tennessee here. I'm getting a team that's got the better defense, playing at home, getting points, and then here's the second part of an angle that I like to use. You've heard me use the injured player theory over and over again. And guys, if you've used that this year in the NFL, when backup quarterbacks were forced in because of an injury, not because the starter sucked and you're making a switch, but because of an injury, that has been absolute money this year. Now, when the star returns, I like to go against them the first game, because the part of the scenario is the team gets fired up the first game of the injury because they got to play at a higher level to compensate for the loss. Well, what happens when the star comes back? It's the reverse effect. You have that exhale feeling. We made it through. Okay, now everything's okay. And you don't have that same intensity. And what also do you have? But you've got an inflated line again, because if they were doing well without the star and the star's back, you got a bigger line to deal with. And we're sitting at a line. Everybody pretty much knows it's going to be Mahomes. They haven't made it 100% official yet, but I think you'll get a bump in the line Sunday morning when it is official, and you'll see people run to Kansas City some more. I like Tennessee. I'm going to wait till game day to bet it. Normally you want to pick your spot earlier in the week, but I think the best line you're going to get is later in the week. But make sure you run quickly, because you're going to be battling the sharps that are thinking the same way I am on this game, I feel, as far as the number goes. But I like Tennessee in this spot, and I like them outright. As our buddy VR would say, do a little sprinkle on the money line.
Sprinkling it. Love it. Yeah, it's so funny. Last couple of weeks talking about Ryan Tannehill and Matt Moore. I never thought we'd ever talk about Miami Dolphins quarterbacks in a positive light like that, but actually that's what's been going on. Unbelievable. This next game is going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. I just can't wait to hear what Marco's got to say about it. It's an interesting game to select here, but let's talk about injuries. Let's talk about traveling. Let's talk about NFC versus AFC. You've got a team in L.A. who's traveling across the country to Pittsburgh to take on a Pittsburgh Steelers team, and they're bringing points along, apparently. They're going to be laying a couple here, at least 3.5. It seems like a low total here, but Mason Rudolph looked halfway decent. Dave, I'll ask you, I don't know. Are you comfortable laying that kind of, 3.5 points on the road team here?
Yeah, I think I am. Look, the Steelers, great job by them last week to pull out a game against the Colts, but they had an awful lot of things go right in that game for them. The injury to Brissett, and while Hoyer was good for Indianapolis, he still did throw a 96-yard pick six, which, that's kind of part of the operation for Hoyer. He'll make some good plays, and then he'll make a real clunker. And then the missed field goal at the end of the game by Vinatieri, part of that was that the laces were not where they were supposed to be, and I think it influenced the kick, but it was still a bad kick. James Conner didn't play last week. He didn't practice yesterday, so I can't chisel it and granite, but that indicates he's probably not going to play again this week. I just think there's too many holes in the Pittsburgh squad with the injury situation, and I'll give him all kinds of points, and Tomlin deserves some praise here for keeping this team competitive. They're back in the race at 4-4, but I think they're catching the Rams in the wrong situation here. The Rams with a week to prepare for this game. Coming off the bye week, I think the Rams are a lot healthier at this point. That's been more time off for Gurley, so he's probably going to be as close to 100% as he's been since the start of the season. I think the Rams have too many weapons. The one thing for the Steelers is they've got to generate a pass rush. And if you can do that on a regular basis against Goff, we've seen that he has not been real effective under pressure this year. One of his wide receivers is still banged up, which is a big key. But the Steelers are not in as good a shape as the Rams at this point. I think based on what I can look at on paper in this game, I think the Rams are going to go in and get the win. And the line is just not high enough for me to get off the Rams side. I'm just not going to sweat the points here. Rams minus the points for me.
Marco, listen, the Rams mortgaged the future to go out and get one Jalen Ramsey here to be able to protect them in the second half. And let's face it, that secondary of the Rams has not been great. It's really been an Achilles heel for them. You got Mason Rudolph. They are at home. The Steelers' defense has shown up, but do you trust Mason Rudolph, Juju, Deontay Johnson? Do you trust these guys to be able to make them pay in the secondary?
Well, this is the key to this game, and it would be a correlated parlay. You guys talked about what looked like a little bit of a low total. Well, with that low total, that leans to the style of the game that has to be Pittsburgh Steelers. If they get into a track meet game, it's going to be over. Mason Rudolph's not going to be able to trade points with Jared Goff. Now, the two key points that Dave made. The first one on Gurley, and that is a big one because the Rams offense has not done anything on the ground this year. And that is what's hurting Jared Goff. When Jared Goff has to carry this team with the passing game, it's not been good. Now, last two games, it looks like they got everything back together, the two easy wins. But let's be honest. They played two of the worst teams in football. Atlanta's got all kinds of problems, and they just steamrolled them. And Cincinnati, well, they're the Bengals, and the game was in London. So I'm not yet sold on them, but I am sold with the extra week off. You're going to get the best game that you will see out of Gurley because of the extra rest. Now, with that said, let's go to the Pittsburgh defense, which has been getting better by the week. They've got three guys on this defense that are going to be impact players down the road. Watt is already an impact player. We know that. But the emergence of the rookie, Delvin Bush, he has been incredible. The Steelers are so high on this guy. They drafted him number one for them, and he's living up to all of the hype. And then Fitzpatrick in the secondary, he had the pick six last week, had another one the week before. This guy's making big money plays, and that's getting us back to the changing of the guard with the Steelers. With Big Ben gone for the season, the identity had to change. And as much as we bash Mike Tomlin, and everybody knows, my connection to Pittsburgh. So this isn't a homer call for me because I bet against Pittsburgh as much as I bet with them. I like this spot here. This is the spot that Tomlin excels in. He's horrible when he plays a team that's of the same or weaker caliber than him. But when he's facing a team that's a winning record or he's an underdog, he has been great. As an underdog, period, as coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, he has a record of 32-20 against the spread as an underdog as his career coaching the Steelers. And when he's playing a team with just a winning record, doesn't matter if Pittsburgh's a dog or a favorite, 46-33 against the spread. Now you throw in the Steelers as a rare home underdog, and here's the last factor in this game. We don't talk about this as much in the NFL. We do in college football a lot. I know I've done discussions with Ralph several times that when you're handicapping a college football game and it's a 12 noon game as opposed to an 8 o'clock or 7:30 at night game, we give a little more of a home field advantage to those night games just because the crowd's rowdier. They've been tailgating all day. Well, I can tell you, this is where the homer experience comes in. I've tailgated a lot in Pittsburgh, okay? And this is a 4:25 Eastern game, a rare 4:25 game for Pittsburgh. That's 3 extra hours of tailgating, guys. That crowd is going to be nuts, insane. Bringing the Rams in here, it's going to be almost for the Steelers. It is a playoff atmosphere because after starting the season at 0-3, for anybody to have said that after week 8 we would be sitting at 4-4, I would have told you were nuts, and I'm a homer. Okay, so this is the key game for the Steelers. If they find a way to win this game, they're going to be in this for the rest of the season. This is a big game. I'm going to go ahead and take the Steelers in a rare home underdog spot. Jared Goff, I'm just not sold on him getting the job done if Gurley cannot run the football.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the Super Bowl hangover, too, as well. And so far, so good there for the Rams. But there might be some regression coming. I can tell you this, though. There's been absolutely zero regression coming in the NHL for our man Dave Cokin here, who's on an 8-1 run. Plays will be up today here, Dave, for the NHL up at WagerTalk?
I don't know. I can't tell you because I don't have lineup information or goalies yet. So I don't know. There's only 4 games tonight, and I don't know if I'll be playing anything. What I do have up is a college basketball game where I'm against the power ratings, but I'm very high on the team that I'm playing. And I'll be posting probably 4 college football games, definitely 3, maybe 4 college football games at some point during the day. And, of course, we're having another real good season in college football. So it's not going to be a high-volume week for me, but it doesn't matter if the games keep winning.
Yeah, it's amen.
Dave, I got a question for you on hockey. Do you think we will ever get to the point with hockey, as much as it seems like it's growing here in Vegas, obviously because of the Golden Knights, with the betting handles? We talked all the books and stuff that we have on the show. This would be a good question maybe for one of them. Do you ever see them going to hockey like baseball where you can just make the bet early and specify goalies like starting pitchers?
I don't know. That's a good question, and I've often No, I don't think they will. Probably because you don't have a probable starter the night before. In most cases, you want to, but once the morning skate info comes out, and you find out which goalie's first off the ice, then you know who the starter is. So, no, I don't think they'll do it. I think if the sport got to an extreme high volume point, maybe they would consider something like that. Yeah. But I don't think they need to go that route, and I don't think they will.
Load management, right? For the goalies. Why not? It works in the NBA.
Well, no, that's not. No, there's no load management in the NHL.
No, they're a little tougher than that. I got that. I thought it was great what Jordan said. Yeah, listen, guys, you get paid to play 82 games here, so you can load this. All right, it ain't happening.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more with the best to ever play the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dave Cokin, Marco D'Angelo. Guys, it's WagerTalk.com. That's where you got to get there. It's a packed weekend. College basketball, NBA, NHL, college football, NFL, all ready to go, guys, at WagerTalk.com. Don't forget Marco's code, 7-day full access, MD79 at checkout, $79, guys. Don't miss a play all weekend long for Marco. And, Marco, you got your plays up for today already?
No, he didn't. I'll be doing that after the show, finalizing some lineups and get things going. And then later tonight, we'll have the college football posted.
Plenty of ways for you guys to make it a very profitable Friday into the weekend. WagerTalk.com is where you got to go. Dave Cokin, Marco D'Angelo. Guys, appreciate the time, man. Best of luck with your plays this weekend. Cash them damn tickets, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
You got it. Marco, Dave, WagerTalk. Remember it in that order. WagerTalk.com. Get there today, guys.